Radio was responsible for many great inventions. The ladies in particular took to their hearts one such development, the daytime serial. Now, this kind of drama was unique and owed its success, I imagine, to the fact that it dwelt on real kinds of problems that were solved 5 days a week. The characters became family friends. Listeners wrote with advice, sent anniversary gifts, holiday cards, and remembered birthdays. It didn't take long for the daytime serial to be known affectionately as the soap opera, named after the sponsors. Let's listen in.
Oh, Lorenzo Jones. The rocky road that winds through Joyland Amusement Park, the Jones' latest venture, is paved with good intentions, the chief of which is Lorenzo's plan to sell his newly discovered sulfur water as a cure-all. He's persuaded Belle to let him try it out, using their chicken barbecue stand as a base for operations. Lorenzo's nephew, Henry Whitcomb, thinks, as always, that his Uncle Lorenzo has something there. Henry's wife, Nellie, suddenly stage-struck, is interested in a screen test ever since a moving picture director working with a group of actors in Townville has casually asked Nellie to come over and watch them work. Today, Lorenzo, Belle, and Henry are at the barbecue stand preparing for the first customers to try out Lorenzo's sulfur water. Let's listen.
All right, Henry, now if you'll grab hold of the other end of this barrel of sulfur water, we'll set it right here on the counter of the barbecue stand.
Now, Lorenzo, you and Henry be careful. Don't knock over those glasses and dishes I've stacked up.
All right, we'll be careful, Aunt Belle.
No, easy, Henry. Henry, turn to this side with the spigot facing us.
Yeah.
That's right. There. Now, my good wife, we're ready for the crowd that'll come here today to try out my sulfur water.
Well, dear, I only hope your new health drink won't interfere with the sale of my barbecued chicken.
Well, Belle, you see, the healthier they get imbibing my super sulfur potion, the more portions of chicken we'll sell.
That's right, Uncle Lorenzo.
Sure.
The healthier I feel, the more I want to eat. Gee, do you think we'll have a big crowd out here today?
The big crowd, Henry. Well, here comes the first auto of the cavalcade now. You'll find people coming out in droves, thanks to the power of American advertising genius. Another $50 worth of handbills judiciously distributed, and we'll have everybody in the world calling for sulfur water.
Well, dear, maybe you're right, but aren't we supposed to have a permit or a license to sell a health drink?
What, a permit to help people regain their vim, vigor, and vitality? Well, Belle, who ever heard of the Good Samaritan with a druggist license,
huh? I suppose I'm wrong, but things are always happening to us. And
The following program will be interrupted for any important war bulletins. And now, the romance of Helen Trent. The romance of Helen Trent. The real-life drama of Helen Trent, who, when life mocks her, breaks her hopes, dashes her against the rocks of despair, fights back bravely, successfully, to prove what so many women long to prove in their own lives, that because a woman is 35 or more, romance in life need not be over. That romance can begin at 35.
Now for our story of Just Plain Bill. Danger threatens Bill Davidson and Nancy, his beloved daughter, and Kelly Donovan, her husband, because of the mysterious, sinister actions of Ira Brewster, who beat Kelly for district attorney by lying about Nancy's supposed parentage.
Why, it's you, Mr. Willoughby.
Hello, Bill.
Well, I didn't expect to see you way down here in Hartville again tonight. Why, you look all in.
I am rather tired, Bill. It's been a long, confusing day for me.
Here, Mr. Willoughby, sit down. Let me call Nancy. She's back in the kitchen. I'll have her bring in some hot coffee. Maybe you'd like something to eat.
Oh, no, Bill, thanks. Don't bother Nancy.
Oh, Nancy will want to hear whatever you've got to tell me. Oh, Nancy.
Yes, Daddy? What is it?
Mr. Willoughby's here. You better come in. Oh, and bring some coffee, will you?
Oh, yes, Daddy. I'll be in a minute.
Life was never simple and easy for the real-life characters in our soap operas. Marriage, separation, illness, even death played a part. The heroines came from all walks of life, even from the theater itself.
And now Mary Noble, Backstage wife. Mary has been the victim of a false friend, Armand Delubac, who took her diamond engagement ring with the promise of having it repaired. But instead, Armand pawned the ring and tried to blackmail Mary and Larry. And when Marcia Mannering tried to make it appear that Mary was in love with Armand and had given the ring to him, she turned Larry violently against her. And thereupon, Marcia conspires with Armand to get even with Mary and Larry. When Mary and Larry later discover that the ring has disappeared from the shop, Mary is heartbroken, and Larry resolves at last to notify the police.
Well, Mary, here's our story in all the afternoon papers.
Yes, Larry, I've seen it.
Famous actor reports theft of wife's jewels to police. A very concise and accurate statement of facts, I'd say. And you certainly can't feel that this is very damaging publicity, Mary.
You got around it very nicely, Larry.
Well, the police have cooperated, too, in not revealing anything to the press except what's printed right here.
But I still have the sinking feeling that something bad's about to happen, Larry. That doom's hanging over our heads.
Well, I've managed so far to keep those reporters from getting a hold of me. They've been banging at the door all morning, clamoring for more details, but if I can just continue to duck them, I don't think that any more will leak out.
Oh, it's not only the reporters I'm afraid of.
What do you mean? You're taking this thing awfully hard, Mary.
Oh, Larry, what's going to happen when or if the police do catch Armand or whoever it is that has my ring?
Well, we'll just get the ring back and prosecute the scoundrel, that's all.
But don't you see, you'll still have to go through all that mess of a criminal trial.
All right, baby, so what?
But unless we can be perfectly sure of presenting the facts believably, the public will turn against you. They might think on the face of it that you're prosecuting an innocent man.
Mary, I wish you wouldn't be arguing against me in this thing. I've done what I think best in order to get back your engagement ring.
I know you have, Larry, dear, and I love you for it.
As radio changed its role, old favorites faded from the scene. For example, I know that many people shed a quiet tear with Ma Perkins. I suppose our youngsters would say cornball or square.
And now, CBS Radio brings you Ma Perkins. Well, what could be more appropriate today than to turn the clock back to join Ma and the folks at Thanksgiving dinner? Ma and the family have so much to give thanks for. Let's join them all. They haven't yet sat down. In the kitchen, we find Fay and Evie and Ma. Listen.
Shuffle and Willie are so hungry. Come on, honey. Let's get the cranberries. Look at the turkey.
And now, here's Ma again.
Thank you, Dan. This is our broadcast number 7065. I first came here on December 4th, 1933. Thank you for all being so loyal to us these 27 years. The part of Willie has been played right from the beginning by Murray Forbes. Shuffle was played for 25 years by Charles Eggleston, and for the last 2 years by Edwin Wolfe, who was also our director. The Fay you have been hearing these past few years has been Margaret Draper, and the part was played for many years by Rita Ascott. For 15 years, our Evie has been Kay Campbell. Helen Lewis plays Gladys, and Tom Wells has been played by both John Larkin and Casey Allen. Our announcer is Dan Donaldson. Our writer for more than 20 years has been Orrin Tavroff. Ma Perkins has always been played by me, Virginia Payne. If you care to write to me, Ma Perkins, I'll try to answer you. Goodbye, and may God bless you.
Another kind of daytime radio program was the interview show. Perhaps you remember two of the most famous as the Noontime Kate Smith Show and Mary Margaret McBride. Now, Mary Margaret McBride is still on radio in many cities. Certainly, she must own a record, for her first broadcast went on the air in New York, May 3rd, 1934. Her guests have ranged from the great political figures to folks in the news.
I don't know whether this is really a respectful way to speak about a vice president, but one of the boys who do some work around your office, Mr. Vice President Barkley, said to me, "Doesn't that guy ever get tired?" And I said, "Well, how would I know?" He said, "Well, I didn't mean you to answer the question. It was just one of those rhetorical questions."
Yeah.
He just said that you tire them all out.
Somebody at the Meet the Press yesterday out in the audience asked me that question, if I never got tired.
And what'd you say?
I said I've never had a feeling of fatigue or exhaustion in my life. I've always worked hard, but it may be a bad thing, because if I got tired, I might go off and lie down and rest now and then. But never getting tired, I just keep on.
Uh-huh.
That's my answer, and that's the truth. I never do have a sense of fatigue or exhaustion.
Never in your whole life. I bet you that means you don't worry.
No, I don't, really. I don't mean that I don't think things over seriously, but I've got a philosophical view that worrying, it doesn't solve anything. And they tell me it creates ulcers in the stomach.
Yes, I've known them to get it. Now, Mrs. Barkley, you can tell us whether he really lives for this or whether this is one of those things men say now and then.
No, it really is true. I can't possibly keep up with him, and I can tell you a cute little story about him that someone told on him when he was campaigning in 1948. It was either in 48 or 50. And he was touring very, very terrifically heavy schedule over Kentucky in a very small plane, which was piloted by a good friend of his, and a couple of the young men that were helping out my husband out were on also. And he had been hopping all over Kentucky for weeks and speaking here, there, and everywhere, making 5 and 6 speeches a day. And he had all the men absolutely beat down. He, of course, feeling perfectly fine. They got in the plane to take off to go on to their next engagement, and the pilot, who's an old friend of my husband, said that he just absolutely was so worn out from this terrific campaign and from trying to keep up with him with not nearly enough rest for an ordinary, normal person to go on, that he was at the controls, of course, and to his utter horror, he suddenly came to and realized that he had dozed and found the vice president very calmly just flying the plane. He knows nothing about it whatsoever at all, absolutely nothing. And the pilot was so frightened for just a minute, he didn't quite know what to do. It gave him an awful shock. And he said, oh my, Mr. Vice President, he said, for goodness sake. And my husband said, well, that's all right, Charlie. He said, you look like you were kind of tired and needed a little nap. Of course, it was one of those little bitty planes, I must explain it, almost fly themselves. Yes, it was Charlie Gartrell. He said, you just worked the morning.
I don't know how you do this. But I couldn't. It would have been a little bit funny. He'd never freed either.
Hasn't never thought, not one.
Now, back around 1926, radio invented something else. Sponsors have provided comedians with more jokes than the Los Angeles smog. Red Skelton made his first radio appearance in 1937 on the Rudy Bailey Show. And soon after, he was credited with this comment: the longest word in the English language is the one that follows. And now a word from our sponsor. But one of the reasons both radio and television were able to provide free entertainment of the highest caliber was the advertisers who paid the bills. I'm sure you'll find a chuckle or two in these famous radio commercials. The first you hear is from Interwoven Socks, reputed to be the first singing commercial. The singers are the famed Billy Jones and Ernie Hare, who were known as the Happiness Boys.
How do you do, everybody? How do you do? Gee, it's great to say hello to all of you. I'm Billy Jones, I'm Ernie Hare, in the Interwoven there. How do you do? Smoking socks, smoking, while a Chesterfield burns. Barbasol. Barbasol, the brushless shaving cream supreme, leaves your face so smooth and clean. Pepsi-Cola hit the spot, 12 full ounces, that's a lot. Twice as much for a nickel, too. Pepsi-Cola is the drink for you.
Rinso white and Rinso bright.
L-A-V-A, This is Sandy Becker saying, keep cooking with Crisco. It's all vegetable. It's digestible.
Longines is not lightly called the world's most honored watch. For Longines watches have won 10 World's Fair grand prizes and 28 gold medals. Longines watches have also won more honors for accuracy than any other timepiece. Longines, the world's most honored watch, is a product of the Longines Whitnor Watch Company.
One of the greatest names in radio comedy was, of course, Fred Allen. The famous Benny Allen feud went on for years, though Fred and I were close friends. Fred had a sharp wit and a sense of satire that has never been surpassed. We exchanged many visits on radio, Fred to my show and I to his. His ability to ad-lib was phenomenal. And one night, after a particularly hilarious Fred Allen ad-lib, I returned this line, which has been quoted time and time again. You wouldn't have said that if my writers were here. Fred's famous Allen's Alley is as fresh today as it was then.
The senator's home. I'll knock and see what happens.
Somebody, I say, somebody knock.
Yes, I know.
Claghorn's the name, Senator Claghorn,
I
that
know
is.
you're from the South.
When I'm in New York, I'll never go to the Yankee Stadium.
Now, wait a minute.
I won't even go to see the Giants unless the Southpaw's pitching.
Well, look,
I refuse to watch the Dodgers unless Dixie Walker's playing.
Now, wait a minute.
Stop interrupting. Where's your manners?
Manners, I have more...
Try listening. You might learn something.
Listen, all I'll ever learn...
Your tongue's wagging like a blind dog's tail in a meat market.
You're winded, hey?
Just sucking in some air, son.
Well, leave a little. I'm breathing, too, you know. Tell me, Senator, what is Washington doing about coal prevention?
The Senate reconvened just in time.
Yeah?
I was glad to see Senator Aiken back. Aiken back, that's a joke, son.
I know it's a joke. I know.
That was a scrawny side split. That was a three-sport streaker.
Listen, you don't know what it is.
I keep tossing them and you just sidestep them.
Well, look at me. Now, wait.
Say, you're a regular sad sack. Sack, that is.
Now, you wait. Tell me, cool off. Now, just a second. Do you have a favorite cure for a cold?
I caught a cold last week.
Yeah?
Like to ruin my filibuster.
Ruin your filibuster? What did you do?
I took an old Southern remedy, son. I drank down 2 buckets of hot mint julep.
You drank 2 buckets of hot mint juleps and you still held the floor?
Held the floor, son, I couldn't get up off it.
Well, I wonder how Titus Moody is doing this evening.
Howdy, Bob.
Say, Mr. Moody, you look a little tired.
I know. I was up all night. Couldn't get a wink.
You didn't sleep a wink?
No, 'twa'n't that. Somebody stole my tiddly.
Well, Mr. Moody, tell me, has this cold epidemic hit your farm?
My wife had a nasty cold.
Did you call the doctor?
Yeah, go down quack, give her sulfur and molasses. Put in too much sulfur.
Well, how can you tell he gave her too much sulfur?
When my wife sits in the dark, she glows.
Well, are you doing anything about it?
Why, Senator Claghorn, a foreigner next door, he sent me over a bucket of hot mint julep.
For your wife?
No, for me. Tonight I'm getting lit up to keep her company. So long, Doc.
Looks as though Titus is going to get lit up on his weekend. Well, let's see what a knock here will start.
No.
Ah, Mrs. Nusbaum.
You're expecting maybe to la lula banquet?
Tell
me, Mrs. N, have you had any colds in your house?
My husband, Pierre, is sick.
Oh, really?
They are maybe sending him to a clinic. The Meyer brothers.
Oh, the Meyer brothers. But didn't Pierre try any cold remedies?
Every day is a new remedy. First, he is bringing home fruit to drinking fruit juices.
What kind?
Oranges, grapefruits, tambourine.
Well, how long did he drink the fruit juices?
1 day. Then Pierre is opening up the window and throwing out the fruit.
Oh, he had another remedy?
Vitamins from vegetables.
Oh, good.
He's bringing home carrots, stringler beans, and rutabagas.
How long did he try vitamins?
1 day.
1 day again.
Pierre is opening up the window and throwing out the vegetables.
He had yet another remedy?
Absolute rest. He's staying in bed.
Uh-huh.
I am bringing meals. I'm bringing pills. I'm bringing hot water bottles.
Well, how long did this last?
1 day.
And then?
I am opening up the window and throwing out Pierre.
Do your youngsters ever ask you, what did you do before television was invented? Now, sometimes it's hard to answer that question in a way that they'll understand. Of course, we read, and we played out in the fresh air a lot more, or at least that's what we tell the kids. But maybe there's another answer. Ask them to come in now and listen to these wonderful bits of imaginative trivia. Did I hear one of the kids mention our old friend, the Lone Ranger? He was there and held us just as captivated as television's version.
The Lone Ranger! Hi-yo, Silver! A fiery horse with the speed of light, a cloud of dust, and a hearty hi-yo Silver, the Lone Ranger. With his faithful Indian companion Tonto, the daring and resourceful masked rider of the plains led the fight for law and order in the early western United States. Nowhere in the pages of history can one find a greater champion of justice. Return with us now to those thrilling days of yesteryear. From out of the past come the thundering hoofbeats of the great horse Silver. The Lone Ranger rides again. Come on, Silver. Let's go, big fella. Hi-yo, Silver. Hi!
Who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The shadow knows.
The shadow, Lamont Cranston, a man of wealth, a student of science, and a master of other people's minds, devotes his life to righting wrongs, protecting the innocent, and punishing the guilty. Cranston is known to the underworld as the Shadow. Never seen, only heard, his true identity is known only to his constant friend and aide, Margot Lane. Today's story, Death Stalks the Shadow.
Mally's in the end cell, Mr. Murdoch. Just talk to him through the bars. You're the last visitor, you'll see.
In cell, right. Hello, Mally. Huh? It's me, kid. Peter Murdoch.
Murdoch. Gee, I thought you'd never get here.
Come on, pull yourself together, Mally.
It's easy enough for you to talk. You ain't been sitting here waiting. Every day the chair getting closer.
Now, Mally.
You're testing the current. Listen. Hear that big dynamo turnover? Coming. They're testing it for me. For me.
Shut up.
Murdoch. You see the governor?
Yeah, I saw him, yes.
Well? Well, say something.
There won't be any reprieve, kid. We're licked.
We're licked? That's funny, Murdoch. You ain't in here. You ain't gonna sit in that chair.
I didn't kill anybody, Mally.
Why, you dirty double-crossing rat. Who planned that killing? Who promised I'd never even do time for it? You did.
Well, I didn't figure on the shadow, Mally.
Yeah, I know. The shadow. He caught me. He didn't know I was only doing your dirty work for you. I should have told him.
Yeah, but you didn't.
I trusted you. Peter Murdoch, the great lawyer. You said you'd get me off.
I can't win all my cases.
You didn't even try. Throw me to the wolves. So the shadow wouldn't learn the truth about you.
Well, it worked, didn't it?
Yeah. If I could get through these bars, I'd fix you, Murdoch. Anyhow, I can tell the truth about you. I'll sing so loud.
Sing your head off. My reputation is too good. Nobody will believe you.
The shadow might believe me, Murdoch. Suppose I told the shadow who turned Dan Mally from a decent kid into a killer.
Stop dreaming, Mally. This is the death house. Tonight you're walking right through that door down there, and you're not coming back.
Why, you...
Oh, you'd better forget all about the shadow. So long, Mally.
Come back here! Come back here!
So long, sucker.
Hey, Mally.
Mally, any news for you?
Yeah. Bad news.
Gee, tough luck, kid.
Yeah, but I ain't through yet. Before they burn me, there's something I gotta do. Guard! Hey, guard! Where's that tin cup? Guard!
Pipe down, you guys! Pipe down! What's the matter, Mally?
I want to talk to Commissioner Weston. I gotta see him right away.
What for?
He's gotta locate somebody for me. Somebody I want to talk to. Well, don't stand there. Get me Commissioner Weston!
Well, good evening, Commissioner. Oh, Preston, how are you? And you, Miss Lane?
Very well, Commissioner Weston.
Won't you join us? Thanks, but I think not. I'm rather upset tonight.
Oh, what's the matter, Commissioner?
Well, Miss Lane, have you ever heard of the Shadow?
The shadow?
Oh, yes, Margot. You've heard the absurd stories about his great deeds, huh? All poppycock, of course.
I'd give anything to contact the Shadow right this minute.
But why?
A boy named Dan Mally goes to the electric chair tonight with vital information. The only person he'll talk to is the Shadow. It's because I don't know how to find the Shadow I'm beaten. Well, I won't find him here. So if you'll forgive me, I'll run along. Good night.
Good night, Commissioner Weston.
Good night. Margot, my hunch about Danny's case must be right. Waiter.
Yes, sir.
Waiter, here's money for my bill. Never mind the change.
Thank you, sir.
Come, Margot, quick. I'm going to the death house now. As the Shadow.
Why doesn't he come? Why doesn't he come?
Were you waiting for me, Dan Mally?
Who's that? Who spoke?
The Shadow.
The Shadow?
There isn't much time, Mally. They're coming after you to take you to the chair. Speak quickly. What have you to say?
Plenty.
I can't save you, you know. You killed a man, Mally.
Yeah, I know. But it wasn't my idea, Shadow. Honest, it wasn't.
There was no evidence against anyone else.
Yeah, don't I know it. He's too clever for that.
Who is too clever?
The bird that got me into this. The smart fellow that sold a dumb kid on crime being a good business.
His name?
Peter Murdoch.
Do you know what you're saying, Dan? Murdoch's a famous criminal lawyer. His reputation...
His reps are blind. Listen, Pete Murdoch's the biggest crook in this section. He's got a piece of everything. Well, right now he's planning a slum fire that'll kill thousands and net him $1 million from insurance companies.
You're telling the truth?
A man doesn't lie when he's only got a few minutes to live, Mr. Shadow. The job's going to be pulled late this week.
I'll investigate it then. If it's true, Peter Murdoch will pay for his crimes. But how can I get proof?
That's easy. Now listen. There's a friend of mine named Dopey Jake down by the wharves, number 5 South Street. Jake knows enough about Murdoch's latest plan to prove what I said.
I'll see him.
Yeah, listen. If you can get to the filing cabinet in Murdoch's house, there's records and things, enough to finish him.
The Shadow promises justice, Dan Mally.
That's all I want.
They're coming, Dan.
Okay. I can take it. Thanks, Shadow. Thanks for coming.
Well, Dan, it's time.
Yeah. I know, Warden.
Unlock the door, Gus.
Right, Warden. Well, here goes.
Take his arms, Gus.
Steady, kid. I ain't scared. I ain't. Not as scared as Murdoch will be. Wait till the Shadow gets him.
All right, men. Forward.
shadow. Yeah, and don't be Jake. They'll fix him.
Goodbye, Mally. Come on, kid. Keep your chin up.
So long, Molly.
Dan, the other prisoners are saying goodbye.
So long, boys.
We'll be seeing you, Mally.
Murdoch. Jake. The shadow.
There was radio adventure, so vivid and so good that recently 160 radio stations around the nation have rerun The Shadow, using the original dramatizations for a whole new generation of Americans. Though comedy and drama provided the warm family memories of those golden years, the dramatic punctuation that underscored our lives and helped to change the course of destiny came from the news bureaus of radio. I've asked a friend of mine whose voice has been a welcome visitor into millions of American homes to take over. Frank Knight has been the voice of the Longines Symphonette for over 3 decades. Frank, it's nice to be with you again.
Thank you, Jack. One classic broadcast with an impact of intensely personal nature occurred when the dream of the dirigible crashed with the Hindenburg in Lakehurst, New Jersey. The description by Herb Morrison and his engineer, Jimmy Nelson, belongs in this collection because never again has a disaster been broadcast right from the spot, from the first second when fate took a hand in what was to have been a routine news broadcast.
We both flew down from Chicago yesterday afternoon aboard one of the giant new 21-passenger flagships of American Airlines. It took us only 3 hours, 55 minutes to fly non-stop from Chicago to New York. When we landed at Newark, we found another flagship of American Airlines waiting to take us to Lakehurst with our equipment when we were ready to go. And incidentally, American Airlines is the only airline in the United States which makes connections with the Hindenburg. The Hindenburg left Frankfurt, Germany, Tuesday evening rather, at 7:30 their time. And for better than 2.5 days, they've been speeding through the skies over miles and miles of water here to America. Now they're coming in to make a landing of the Zeppelin. I'm going to step out here and cover it from the outside. So as I move out, we'll just stand by a second. Well, here it comes, ladies and gentlemen. We're out now outside of the hangar. And what a great sight it is. A thrilling one. It's a marvelous sight. It's coming down out of the sky, pointed directly towards us and toward the mooring mast. The mighty diesel motors just roared, their propellers biting into the air and throwing it back into a gale-like whirlpool. No wonder this great floating palace can travel through the air at such a speed with these powerful motors behind it. Now, a field that we thought active when we first arrived has turned into a moving mass of cooperative action. The landing crews have rushed to their posts and spots, and orders are being passed along, and last-minute preparations are being completed for the moment we have waited for so long. The ship is riding majestically toward us like some great feather, riding as though it was mighty proud of the place it's playing in the world's aviation. The ship is no doubt bustling with activity, as we can see. Orders are shouted to the crew. The passengers are probably lining the windows, looking down at the field ahead of them, getting their glimpse of the mooring mast. It's practically standing still now. They've dropped ropes out of the nose of the ship, and it's been taken a hold of down on the field by a number of men. It's starting to rain again. The rain had slacked up a little bit. The back motors of the ship are just holding it just enough to keep it from... It bursts into flames. Get it started. It's crashing terrible. Oh, my, get out of the way, please. It's bursting into flames, and it's falling on the mooring mast and all the folks between it. This is terrible. This is one of the worst catastrophes in the world. Oh, it's place is 400 or 500 feet into the sky. It's a terrific crash, ladies and gentlemen. The smoke and the flames now, and the frame is crashing to the ground, not quite to the mooring mast. All the humanity and all the passengers screaming around here. I can't talk to people whose friends are on there. I can't talk, ladies and gentlemen. Honest, it's just laying there, a mass of smoking wreckage. And everybody can't hardly breathe and talk and screaming. Lady, I'm sorry. Honestly, I could hardly breathe. I'm going to step inside where I cannot see it. Charlie, that's terrible. Listen, folks, I'm going to have to stop for a minute because I've lost the voice. This is the worst thing I've ever witnessed. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm back again. I've sort of recovered from the terrific explosion and the terrific crash that occurred just as it was being pulled down to the mooring mast. The terrible amount of hydrogen gas in it just caused the tail surface broke into flame first. Then there was a terrific explosion, and that followed by the burning of the nose and the crashing nose into the ground, and everybody tearing back at breakneck speed to get out from underneath it because it was over the people at the time it burst into flames. Now, whether it fell on the people who were witnessing it, we do not know. But as it exploded, they rushed back, and now it's smoking a terrific black smoke floating up into the sky. The flames are still leaping maybe 30, 40 feet from the ground, the entire 811 feet length of it. They're frantically calling for ambulances and things. The wires are being humming with activity, and I've lost my breath several times during this exciting moment here. Will you pardon me just a moment? I'm not going to stop talking. I'm just going to swallow several times until I can keep on. I should imagine that the nose is not more than 500 feet or maybe 700 feet from the mooring mast. They had dropped 2 ropes, and whether or not some spark or something set it on fire, we don't know, or whether something pulled loose on the inside of the ship, causing a spark and causing it to explode in the tail surface. But everything crashed to the ground, and there's not a possible chance of anybody being saved. I wish I could stop in just a moment and see if I can get my breath again. And Charlie, if you'll fade it out just a minute, I'll come back with more description, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm back again. I raced down to the burning ship, and just as I walked up to the ship, climbed over the picket lines, I met a man coming out, dazed. He couldn't find his way. I grabbed a hold of him. It's Philip Mangone, A-N-G-O-N-E, of New York. Philip Mangone. He's burned terribly in the hands, and he's burned terribly in the face. His eyebrows and all his hair is burned off, but he's walking and talking plainly and distinctly, and he told me he jumped. He jumped with other passengers. Now, there's a Mr. Spay. It sounds like Spay. We're not sure of it. And he also got out. Now, it is my sincere hope the majority of the passengers jumped when it came close to the ground, according to what Mr. Mangone told me. He says, thank God he jumped, and we say thank God for him also.